I'm Danielle with Student Designs. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the Nooga Merit Sewing Marathon. I hope you guys have been enjoying all the other tutorials from all the awesome sewists that are out there. So today we're making this one. So Emperor's New Groove is such an underrated movie, but it is amazing. If you've never seen it, you totally need to see it. I love it. So good. So this is the Nooga. It is a hip style bag. It is by K.Dill Handmade. So check out the back. So we got this cool little extra little pocket, easy access, kind of stuff some stuff into. Probably my snack pocket because I like my snacks. This is great for if you go to like conventions or Comic-Cons or other events. This is nice to store your money into. You can keep it close to your body. Easy to access money. You have cards. There's an inside zipper pocket. And then there's also, because I haven't opened it yet, this front pocket as well. And again, this is the Nooga. Enjoy your tutorial. Let's go run down through our cut panel or our cut list to make sure we have everything. So for the full panel, you're going to need 3 exterior. So I have my 1, my 2, and then I just have a solid black one. So we got our 3. We're going to need 4 of our lining pieces. I got all the poison bottles. So I got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to need your card slot panel. I'm using waterproof canvas for that one. Then you're going to need your card slot panel sides. Wow, try to say that 3 times fast. So I got those 2 pieces. Then you're going to need your internal zipper pocket. Oop, I missed one. You'll need your hidden zipper cover. So when we fold this, so it'll be folded in half, and so this will cover the little front zipper. So we have that one. Then we have our internal zipper pocket. We have 2 pieces of those. And make sure that you're using the most updated. You don't need to reprint the actual pattern itself. That hasn't changed, but you just need to reprint the cut chart. The couple things on that have changed. So for the ring connectors, if you're going to be using inch hardware, you want to make sure that you have the proper size for those, and you need 2 of them. And then if you are for your strap anchors, regardless if you're using 1.5" or inch hardware, they're all going to be the same size. So make sure you have the correct size. So it should only list 1. You're also going to need 4 of these zipper tab pieces cut. For your zipper end, you'll need 1 of those. And my first one that I did, I didn't really like how it felt really small. So I made it the same size as the zipper tab, so hopefully that works out for me. You're also going to need, if you want to use pre-made, which I'm going to, and then you can use zipper by the yard, so that's where I'm going to use. And then for the inside, I'm just going to be using a pre-made zipper for that one. And then for my zipper pulls, I got the cute little kitty holding the poison bottle, and then I have the llama that says no touchy. That is definitely my mood some days. No touchy. For the front pocket zipper, let's go ahead and add our zipper onto it. I don't have any of the fancy zipper jigs, but when you pull your zipper, before you pull your zipper part, like what I did, note where the zippers are with each other. So you're going to slide in one, slide in the other, and then I just kind of push them up, and then when they come out the back end of the zipper, you want them to be the same as what they were before you spread them apart. So mine are, and I have a very pretty zipper. Okay, go ahead and grab your zipper ends or your zipper tabs. We're going to place 1 on the top, right side, so the top of the zipper, right side, and then the right side of the fabric. We're going to put those 2 together. And then on the back, we're going to put them the wrong side of the zipper, but with the right side of the fabric. If you want to, you can baste one of those pieces on at 1/8 of an inch first, or just make sure to clip them together, and you're going to sew those together at 1/4 of an inch. And then instead of lifting him, I'm just going to swivel my zipper tape around. And now we're going to fold these over, and then we're going to top stitch these at 1/8 of an inch. So you probably saw me using this, and so I just use this to kind of help push up against the zipper to kind of help it get underneath my foot. Otherwise, my foot sometimes has a trouble getting up and over thing, so a hump jumper would work, but I don't have one of those, so that seems to work for me. All right, so we got our beautiful front zipper. Okay, let's grab our second zipper. We're going to add on our zipper pull. And do the same thing as we did before. Okay, so we're now going to also mark the center of our zipper end. And then we'll fold in the edges to meet that middle. And then we'll fold it all the way over and make a nice little sandwich. And then we'll grab the end of our zipper, the one that we put the zipper pull on, so the closed end. And then we're going to change sides. We're going to stitch that on at a quarter inch, and we're going to stitch that on with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. So like I said, I made my zipper end the same size as the zipper tabs, and I like it just gave me a little bit more room to work with and be able to hold it down to be able to top stitch. I struggled a little with how small that first one was. And then we will grab our ring connectors and we'll find the center of these. Then fold your edge into that middle line. And then we're going to stitch down the one side. And I'm just going to chain stitch these guys together. And then I'm just going to put my D-rings on. And then just add a little clip to help hold them all together. Now we're going to do our strap anchors. We're going to draw a line from one corner to the other corner. And then when you're drawing, you want to make sure that your ruler is slightly offset, because if you put your ruler directly from point to point, when you draw your line is not going to be actually in the center. So you want to offset them just enough, kind of like the width of your pin. And when you set your pin down or your marking tool down, you want to line it up at the corner there. And that way you make sure that your mark is in the center. And then go ahead and cut those in half. Now we're going to bring back over our anchor or connectors, and so we're going to just make sure that we have a little bit hanging over, about a 1/2 inch hanging over. Looks good. And then clip that one there, and then grab, that's the other fun part. There we go. Well, they should be the same either direction. I just get a little, like, making sure that they line up. And then you're going to sandwich your connector in between the two pieces. And double check you got a 1/2 inch overhang. I'm going to kind of center that a little more. There we go. And then we're going to stitch around this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you can do a little back stitch over your connector. And I'm just going to keep going on to my second one. And then I'm going to trim off a little bit of this one and then a little bit of that corner to help with the turn. And then we're going to turn this right side out. And then kind of roll the edges. That way it gets the seam all the way out. And then if you have like a little poking tool, make sure to poke out that corner. And then roll your seams. And then to help it want to stay, you can add some clips. And we'll do the same thing for this one. And we're going to top stitch this at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then go ahead and trim off these little end pieces. We're going to grab our card slots. And so we're going to make some lines on the back. We're going to do our first one. I'm going to actually, I'm going to put a center mark here. And a center mark here. Okay, from the left side, we're going to draw one at 3.5. And then we're going to do 5.25. And then we're going to do 7 3/4. Then 9.5. I'm going to double check this one. And then we're going to do one at 12 inches. And then our last one will be at 13 3/4, sorry. 13 3/4. Okay, so we're going to be doing valleys and mountains. So the valleys are going to be down and the mountains will be up. So the first one is a valley. So I'm folding right sides together. And then you can throw some clips on it to help hold it. And then at the next second one, we'll do a mountain. So we're going to fold wrong sides together. And so this side is a little bit trickier, but it's totally doable. So I just kind of line up the sides. I'm going to clip that side together and then find where that mark is and then kind of center that. And as long as my sides match up, we'll be good. And then you can kind of then crease. And then our next one will be a valley. So we're going to put right sides together. Our next one will be a mountain. So wrong sides together. Our next one will be a valley, so right sides together. Then our last one will be a mountain with wrong sides together. And then if you're able to, depending on your material, you can take it over to your iron and give these a good press to be able to get them to have a nice crease. So we are going to top stitch the 3 mountains and we're going to do that at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And we have a nice pretty cardstock. And so we're going to line up the 2 little notches that we made at the beginning. So that's going to help us find our center. And then you can do a marking pin that you can erase. And then we're going to stitch right down that line. Grab your cardstock side pieces. We're going to line them up. And clip them in place. And then we're going to stitch these down at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Go ahead and you can either use your iron to press these open or you can finger press. And then top stitch these at 1/4 inch, or sorry, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And now you have your finished card slot panel piece. So this will go for the inside of your bag. We're going to set this aside and let's start working on the interior zipper pocket. We're going to grab one of our lining pieces. If I can get one of mine. There we go. And then let's go ahead and find the center. And then we're going to grab our little zipper pocket pieces. And then let's find the center of one of them. And you want to make sure that your pocket piece is laying down, the widest part is horizontal. And then from 1 inch down off the top, we're going to draw a 5.5 inch box. So on my little notch that I placed for the center of my pocket, I'm going to place the 2 3/4 inch mark of my ruler 1 inch down. So then the point of this ruler is that edge, and then at the 5.5 will be my other spot. And then I draw my line across in between the two, 3/8 of an inch, and then draw my second line. Okay, so now that we have our box drawn, we're going to grab our lining piece, and we have our center right there. We're going to lay our ruler. I'm using the 3 of the ruler to line up with the center notch of the panel, and then it's going to be a 1/2 inch. So my 1/2 inch horizontal line of the ruler is going to be lined up with the top of the fabric. And then I'm going to line up the notch of my little pocket with the 3, and then the rest of my fabric is going to be lined up along the base of the ruler. So then that way we know that the pocket is centered on the lining piece. And so you can use double-sided tape, or if you can just hold it, you can slide it on over. And then you're going to stitch around the little zipper box. And then we're going to make a little mark about a 1/2 inch. So centered in the box, a 1/2 inch. Something I can actually see. Make a little mark. And then same with the other end, centered in the box and a 1/2 inch. Make a little mark. Because we're going to cut open. So I just fold my fabric pieces together, and I can feel where my zipper or where the stitching is through both sides. So they're lined up, and I just make a little snip. Big enough that I can get my scissors in. And then I'm going to cut down the center of this, and I'm going to stop at the mark. And then from the mark, I'm going to go and cut to my corners. And you want to cut in as close to the corners as you can without actually cutting your threads. And we're going to flip and do it to the other side. Okay, and we're going to then turn our pocket through the hole to the other side. And then you can roll the seams. And then as I'm working this, I just like to put some clips on it just to kind of help hold it in place. And now I can flip and do it to the other side. If you're depending on the materials you're using, you can also take it over to your iron and you can press it. And then for your corners, I just kind of pull them over and then kind of give them a little tug to make sure that they're all the way in, and you can roll those seams a little bit as well. And then give them a little squish to make sure they lay flat. And if they're if they're a little on the puckered, if they're a little bit puckered, then means you could probably go in a little bit deeper into that corner and cut it all the way, or cut it a little bit more. because if you didn't quite get all the way into that corner, it tends to want to pucker a little bit, but a tiny bit of a pucker, once you top stitch around, you're not going to notice it. Okay. I'm just going to finger press this. Okay. And then if you're using zipper by the yard or zipper pre-made zipper, go ahead and grab either one. If you're using zipper by the yard or zipper tape, make sure you add your zipper pole to it before you do this, or before you line it up. You can also use double-sided stick tape to help hold your zipper in place. And then just get it all lined up. And then bring it over to your machine. And then you're going to stitch around it at 1/8 of an inch. And then from the back side, you can pull your threads to the back. And then go ahead and tie those into a knot. And then I like to melt the ends of those. And then depending on where you want to place your label, you can place it wherever you prefer. I normally place mine on the inside of bags just below the zipper pocket. So I can see my center mark here. So I just kind of want to center it underneath the zipper. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch that on. And then go ahead and tug on your threads to bring everything to the back. And so because these two go together, I usually like to hold a finger over them so I don't accidentally try to pull something that I've already pulled to the back already, because then that can undo the stitching on the front. So then go ahead and tie those off into a knot. And then go ahead and grab your other little pocket, and we're going to lay them right sides together, and we're just going to clip all the way around. And we're going to stitch all the way around the pocket piece at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then go ahead and trim off your excess zipper and then melt the ends, or I like to melt the ends. And there is our zipper pocket. Okay, we're going to work on the exterior of the panel. So we're going to grab one of our exteriors and one of our linings. If I can grab it. There we go. And I'm gonna, no, it's okay. I'll do that next. We're going to mark 2 inches from the top, and you want to make sure that the widest part is going horizontal. And we're going to place the 2-inch line on the of the ruler on the top of this, and we're going to draw a mark down. So we're drawing a 2-inch on our exterior, and we're also going to draw a 2-inch line on our lining piece as well. Go ahead and grab your scissors, and we're going to cut right along that line. And then go ahead and find the center of all 4 pieces. And then go ahead and grab your zipper, your front zipper with the 2 tabs on the sides. And then we're going to place them right sides together. And then I don't think my center, no, my center marks are not there anymore. Or no, I didn't mark center on this, but. So go ahead and mark your center on this ruler, this zipper tape. I love this movie. The poison for Cusco. The Cusco chosen specifically to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. That poison? Such a good movie. So underrated. Okay, anyway. So we're going to take our mark from our zipper and we're going to line it up with the center of our fabric. Clip there and then go ahead and clip down the sides. Okay, and you can go ahead and just baste this on in place at 1/8 of an inch. We're going to grab the bottom part of the other, or what would be the lining, and we're going to line up our center notches and then clip those together. So we're making a little zipper sandwich. So we have the right side of the lining against the right side of our front pocket, but it's technically the wrong side of our zipper. And we're going to stitch all that together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then if you need to, just lift your liner and then pull your zipper out of the way if you need it. And then we're going to go ahead and kind of finger press and pull these. And then we're going to top stitch this at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. My one suggestion, and be cautious of, if you over pull, you can cause your zipper to go curvy. So if you're over tugging and pulling on it, so you just kind of have to like be mindful of it and look out for that part. And then we're going to next grab our hidden zipper cover. We're going to be a little easier. Let's find the center of this. And when we fold over, we'll line up those notches together, and then we can line those notches up with this middle mark of our zipper tape. And so hold that there, and then just clip down along. Well, for some reason this is not wanting to line up center, so double check, because I'm a little over on this side and it's a little short on this one. So I'm just going to kind of move it over and move it down just a tad. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and baste this on at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and then go ahead and grab your top part of your exterior. We're going to line up our center, and just double check as you're lined up and holding center that your piece looks like it actually does meet in both corners. Sometimes things kind of wiggle and move around a little bit as you're stitching them, so it's always good to just double check. And you can also baste this one down again at 1/8 of an inch. And then grab your lining, and we're going to flip this over. And then because it's going to get flipped up this way, we want to make sure, especially if you're having a directional print, that when you lay it down, when you look at the back, if you can see the back, it's upside down. So then if you were to pretend to flip it up, it is the correct side up. And then go ahead and line up that center and just double check that it does meet the edges. Looks good. And so go ahead and clip in place. And then go ahead and stitch all of that together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're going to lift and then kind of press. And then you can top stitch this at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're almost done with this front panel section. We're going to grab one more lining piece and we're going to lay that right side up, and we're going to lay the back part, missed a thread, of this, and we're going to lay those right sides together. And then we're just going to make sure to clip, and we're going to baste in place. So also I want to point something out. If you are worried about like your bottom seams, if you're doing this on a domestic and depending on the materials that you are using, if you are worried that your materials are going to be too, like it's going to be really bulky, then I'm going to show you something else real quick. So the sides will be like the thickest part. But what we can do is stitch the lining top down at a more of a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then from the bottom, so we're going to unclip and leave the top all by itself. So from here, we're just going to kind of go from the edge and then come in a few stitches, and then at a 1/2 inch, go all the way around. And then as you get closer to the top of this, we're going to come in and then kind of curve to the outside, and make sure you're not stitching over the top of your exterior panel. So this will just help to remove any of the extra bulk from your seam allowances in this, and then trim away. Because the first time I made it, I noticed, and I had SF 101, and I went all the way down to the bottoms on all the pieces, all the exterior, all the lining. And so when I finished my bottom front, because it had 3 layers of cotton woven, all with SF 101 on them all the way down to the bottom, it was just really bulky. So if you are worried about when you go to finish your bag about the bulk, then I would suggest just sewing the lining pieces together at that 1/2 inch seam allowance to help reduce the amount of bulk. So now that that part's done, we can go ahead and set that aside. And we're going to grab our remaining pieces. So we're going to first find our centers. Okay, and on the back of what would be the main exterior, we're going to make marks 4 inches in and then 4 inches down. Then use your ruler to be able to connect you're going to draw a line connecting the top point to the bottom point, and you're going to do that on both sides of your panel. So we're going to stitch right along that line. Make sure to back stitch. And then we're going to cut off, leaving about a 1/4 inch. And then we're going to turn this right sides out. And then go ahead and roll your seams depending on the material that you're using. You can take this over to your iron and give it a good press. And then go ahead and top stitch these at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now we're going to lay in our exterior on top of our liner, and we're going to line up the notches that we made at the top for our centers. And then we're going to also line up our bottoms. And go ahead and baste the bottom and the top on at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and grab our our little anchor, or we're going to grab these. I'm like, I can't remember what they're called. So we're going to measure down 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to make a mark. And then we're going to line up, make sure I'm looking at this right. So our point is going to line up with that mark, and we're going to just clip this along the sides. We're going to do that to this as well. So our corner, so if we were to pull it out, it looks like so. So our point is lined up with the mark. And then go ahead and we're going to baste this on. And then make sure to give it a few back stitches, or a few stitchings over this area too, to help reinforce it. And here's our back, and so if we were to hang those out, looks good. Okay, we're going to grab our front, and we're going to make a couple marks. So we are going to mark 3/4 of an inch on both sides. Then we're going to grab our zipper, and I know that the instructions say to put the zipper tab on the left side, and but then the zipper opens from this side to this side, which is opposite of this. So I'm going to put mine over on the zipper tab on that side. So I'm going to put the right side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric, and I'm going to put the zipper tab at the 3/4 inch mark there. We're going to line that up. And then just going to kind of pre-separate this, because when we get to our marks, actually, let's mark it on the back. especially this, specifically this mark here, because that's when we're going to turn our zipper tape in the next step. That's what we'll do. So, but for now, I'm just going to top base this on in place, and I'm not going to go all the way to that mark here. I'm going to go a little bit further away so I have a little bit of wiggle room. And depending on what your inside you want to have, so if you were to look at it this way, whatever you want on this side. So if you want it to be your zipper pocket, or if you want your card slots against that one, so it's your choice what you want up against the front. So if we were to look on the inside, so we can either have this zipper pocket towards the back, or we can have the card slots toward the back. So I'm just going to continue to follow along. I'm just going to follow along with the pattern. Okay. So go ahead and place your front right side up. We're going to sandwich this zipper, so the right side of our liner with the right side of our fabric. We're going to line up our center notches, clip, and then just verify that the sides do indeed match up, which they do. Looks good. And then clip everything in place. And we are going to stitch this together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So because I kept the front zipper pocket, this liner out of the seam allowance, so that's what this is. Otherwise, it would be actually attached up here, so then it would make this a little bit bulky. Again, depending on the material you're using, that's why you could either leave it there or you could cut it down and then pull it out of the seam allowance. And as we get closer to our 3/4 inch mark, I'm going to pull my zipper up and continue stitching. And you can go ahead and trim off your excess. And now I can melt it. And go ahead and then pull your liner and your exterior together, so wrong sides are together. And we're just gonna kind of pull on the zipper a little bit. And you can kind of push out those ends to make sure they're nice and square. Okay, and we're going to, once I get this finger pressed, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And we're just going to repeat those same steps to be able to do the other side of the zipper. So I'm going to, we can put a mark of the 3/4, or yeah, 3/4, I had it right. 3/4 mark there. So that way I can line up that one and just verify that the edges meet, that meets, everything looks good. Okay, put a clip on that. and then just kind of clip along. Okay, and I'm just going to baste that together. And again, I'm not going to get all the way to where I need to pivot my zipper tape off. Okay, and then we're going to grab our card slots, and we're going to, I'm going to put the mark on this one to know where to pivot. So I'm just going to line up my edges here. And then clip along the top. And then yeah, my edges meet on the other side, so everything looks good. Make sure I get all that together. And then we're going to stitch all this together at a 3/4 inch seam, sorry, 1/4, not 3/4, the 3/4 are over here. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then as you get towards the middle, we're gonna back stitch a few times in the middle. We're going to get to that 3/4 inch line. Lift your foot. We're going to swivel our zipper tape up out of the way and continue stitching. Go ahead and trim off your excess. Then we're going to put those wrong sides together and then kind of roll the seams on the corners and then pull everything all right. So this is the area when we were back stitching across the top. This is what we were back stitching through, so that way it helps reinforce this area. And then when you've finger pressed it and you're ready, go ahead and top stitch that at a 1/8 inch seam allowance. When you're picking your materials, especially for this section right here, for these two pieces, if you're going to be adding like a SF101 to them, if you're using cotton woven or usually cotton woven, make sure that your SF101 is not right up along the top, because that's going to get pretty bulky there, especially depending on the machine that you're using. So just be mindful of which materials you're using, and then trying to keep your SF101 out of your seam allowances for the areas, especially if they're going to be a little on the bulky side. We're going to grab our two exteriors and we're going to place them right sides together, lining up our bottoms. Let's clip those. And then you can also line up the notches. So add as many or as few clips as you think you might need. And then clip along the sides. And then if you did like I did and you cut the lining out, just make sure that because you had to come over to the edge, because the front, it's all sewn together right there, make sure that that's all together. Oh, yep, all together, because you're going to need to sew that down right there. And then go ahead and clip your lining pieces together. And we're going to leave about a 4 to 5 inch gap along the bottom, because that's where we're going to turn our pieces. And then just make sure that these your connector areas, or the anchors, are tucked into the inside. All right, we're going to start on the lining side, and we're going to start it at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And as we work towards the exterior, we're going to decrease it to a 1/4 inch. We're going to sew all the way around. And then when we get back to where we're going to go into the lining, we're going to increase it again to a 3/8 inch seam allowance, go down the side, and we're going to stop on the other side. So to make sure that we have a decent size hole, let's go ahead and mark ourselves. Let's give ourselves a 5 inch opening. So at least now we know where we need to start and stop. It'll make life a little bit easier. So to help with the turning, or when we go to stitch up that side, I'm actually going to start here, go a few stitches in, and then I'm going to turn and continue on. And make sure I'm at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to scoop this over. There we go. And now I'll continue on. We're almost done, so let's go ahead and we're going to go to those corners, and we're going to snip those corners away.
And we can trim down this little area too. And then trim down the lining on the sides just a little bit.
Oh, I guess I should have said this before. So make sure when you before you start, you have your zipper open just on the upper section, so that way you can turn it a little bit easier. I'm having to open it. Not too bad. That wasn't too bad. And then go ahead and turn your bag right side out. Okay, and just before you go to sew up your inside, you just make sure that your corners are all nice and pointed, turned out. And then when you got it how you like it, go ahead and kind of pull the lining up just a little bit. And so the nice part about being able to, when we started on the outside edge, came down, and then actually started. We already have this lining on the inside already pre-turned down for us. So it just makes it really easy. All we have to do is just continue to fold over. And then we just clip in place. Got a little thread, we can melt that. And then we just close that up with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. I like to go a little before, or a little, yeah, so I start before the opening is, and then I go past the opening as well. And make sure you're back stitching at the beginning and the end. And then go ahead and melt your threads. If you're using cotton thread, they won't be able to melt. And then go ahead and tuck your lining back inside, pushing out the corners of your liner. Oh, well, here's the pouch. Now all we have to do is make the crossbody strap. And then you can make your strap as long as you want. You can follow the instructions, or if you don't want to make it that long, completely up to you. So we're going to need our connector. So I'm going to slide that. So from the underside of the connector, above, or the slider, go up, and then we're going to go over the bar. And then I like to, we don't really need a really long tail on this end. So you want to make sure that you've captured the slide adjuster, or if it's not a sliding one, but you're still capturing the middle bar. Then for the strap, you want to make sure that there's no twists. And then you're going to grab your clasp. You're going to slide it that way. And then you're going to go up the the slide adjuster, go over the middle bar, and down the other side. So then when you have it, you'll have it's going to look like this. And then make sure you clip it to the side of the bag that you want it to clip to. So I'm going to clip it to this side. And then make sure that there's no twists. And then I'm going to go to the other side, because I'm not putting two clasps on this one, so it's going to be attached to this side. So I'm going to go down from the front and then back on itself, and that's what I'm going to stitch to. So then this little tail end will be on the back side, so you won't see it from the front. And that is it. That is the Nooga. Thank you guys for joining me in this tutorial. I hope you guys are enjoying the marathon of the Noogas. Oh, all the Noogas. Thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed.